Reimagining Success, episode 208. You're listening to the Reimagining Success podcast, where we help you design a business and a life that allows you freedom from the 9 to 5. I'm your host, Anna Lundberg, ex-corporate good girl, now a business mentor and coach, author, mum of 2, and I'm here to help you create more freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. Now let's get started with redefining success outside of the 9 to 5. Hello there, welcome back. And I'm super excited, I really am. I know people always say that, but I really am excited to talk to you today finally about outside of the 9 to 5. This is my book. This is the sequel to Leaving the Corporate 9 to 5. It's a practical guide to designing and building a profitable business that gives you freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. Now, I hope you don't mind. I hope you'll allow me a little bit of indulgence here, self-indulgence, as I pause for a moment to celebrate this because, and I know that some of you have similar aspirations and have perhaps already started work on your book and even published it, and you know what it takes to do so. I'm so proud of myself for single-mindedly focusing on this. So my priorities for 2022 were to develop my course, which I finally did, and to write this book. And as ever, it's so helpful, first of all, to focus on one thing at a time. And I say one thing at a time. Of course, I focused on 3,000 things in the meantime. But, the big kind of legacy projects were first the course and then secondly, the book, which in fact feeds into the course. And I think I had sort of an optimistic ambition to kind of release one book a year. Once I'd done that book in 2018, I thought, easy peasy, I can do more every year. Obviously, it wasn't quite the case for a number of reasons. One was that first book was a collection of stories. So I kind of rested on the laurels of other people in using content that I already had, sharing other people's stories, and then just adding the framework around it. Writing a whole book is another story, is a whole different beast. Secondly, though, timing-wise, that was October 2018. And in fact, I then had Sophia, my daughter, in May 2019. So that perhaps, I was going to say was a setback, certainly not a setback, but it perhaps at least put some of those ideas of writing more books on ice. What else happened? COVID, is that an excuse? No, lots of people wrote books during COVID. I did do a positive psychology course during COVID, so I did something. I then had Zach in November 2020. 2021, what happened in 2021? Who knows? I feel like I did a lot of back-end stuff. I worked on my website. I finally had an agency to professionalize what I had been doing myself, DIY, for the past many years, and that was great. Worked with a graphic designer, worked with a photographer, so updated a lot of back-end stuff, and I'm really pleased I did that. I feel like it's now much more representative of where I am in the business and where I want to be. But this year was really about, again, that course and the book. So again, apologies for kind of celebrating myself, but I think it's really important. I know it's really important. It's something I certainly don't do enough. It's something I know my clients, and I'm sure you don't do enough. So please allow me to role model celebrating. I was encouraged by a friend at a mastermind to actually have a launch event, so I am going to do that. Mainly friends and family. It's not going to be big and fancy, but hey, if you are nearby, I'd love to see people from the community, from the podcast, of course, clients and so on. So if you are able to travel to the southwest, to the coast of England, then do let me know, and I'd love to send you the details. But I would like to celebrate with you, of course, on social media, in the Facebook group, and above all, of course, I'd love for you to buy the book, and perhaps it's a wonderful Christmas present for a friend of yours who is a would-be entrepreneur or someone who is already working in their own business, but perhaps not quite getting the results they want, or perhaps getting the results in terms of money and business and so on, but not in terms of the work-life integration, in terms of the broader definition of success. So to read what I wrote in the back, and this I wrote a long time ago, Outside of the 9 to 5 is the book title. The subtitle, if I don't change it one last time, is, as I said, a practical guide to designing and building a profitable business that gives you freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. Here it is on the back. Anna Lundberg continues the journey from leaving the corporate 9 to 5, her book that focused on that initial decision to quit your job to do something different, as she now looks at what happens next. Here she details what's needed to sustain your initial escape from the 9 to 5 in a guide to designing and building a profitable business that can support your desired lifestyle and allow you to achieve success on your own terms. In the book, she guides you through the 5 pillars of a successful business, identifying your personal definition of success, cultivating confidence and resilience, choosing the right business model, building an effective brand platform, and designing flexible work-life integration. Enjoy success on your own terms with a profitable and enjoyable business that supports your lifestyle and lets you say goodbye to that corporate life for good. And so I'm holding an author's copy, a proof in my hands, which is pretty exciting. And I feel like now I can actually call myself an author. I should be able to do that even after one book. And in fact, I did write another book, self-published with a colleague some years ago, but it wasn't quite, again, it was more sort of a little workbook, and I perhaps don't see it quite as my pièce de résistance, as we say. However, that's really important because, as I say to any would-be authors in my community or friends, your first book, as someone once said to me, and I'm passing on the wisdom, is not going to be a bestseller. Unless you're very lucky, very talented, writing that first book, certainly a novel or something, it's unlikely to hit the bestseller list. And unless you invest a lot of money and have a PR support team and so on, then getting your book onto, the New York Times bestseller list, etc., is unlikely. And that's not really the point. So for me, there's a huge fulfillment that comes from me simply writing it and having it in my hands and being able to say that I'm an author. So there's a bit of an ego there, I suppose. It's also playing a really concrete role in the so-called funnel, certainly in the ecosystem of my business. So leaving the corporate 9 to 5 was designed, as I said, to inspire people, of course not to inspire to quit their jobs as such, but to inspire them as they, navigated that journey. That book then fed into my business incubator program, which takes people from, I have an idea, I have some ideas, I'm not sure how to translate my skills and experiences so on into a viable business. How do I navigate this transition? Right through to, I know exactly what I want, I've got a clear business model, strategy, I've got a pipeline of clients, and I'm ready to press that button and quit or to go all in with the business. So that was a very intentional step on that journey. The book is a great point of market entry, as it were, into the brand ecosystem. Less than £10 for a paperback and something that someone can buy whether they can't afford the coaching or it's just an initial taster. They find it, I'd like to say they find it in a bookshop, but at the moment it's only on Amazon, albeit in many different formats, paperback, hardback and Kindle. So this next one is designed to feed into actually initially my accelerator program, which is for people who already have that business, and it still is to some extent. But as an initial step, very concretely, it feeds into my business academy and the coaching that goes with that. So the academy, as I believe I mentioned last week, and I've talked about a little bit, is the self-directed course that takes you through my 5 pillars. And this book, in fact, is organised according to those 5 pillars. So again, the previous one, leaving the corporate 9 to 5, was arranged in 5 different ways, options for leaving the corporate 9 to 5. So changing sector, starting a business, going freelance, creating a portfolio career, which is some combination of those, or taking the leap, which is what I did without really knowing what you wanted to do. And that's how I organised the stories. This one is organised according to the 5 pillars. Now, of course, in terms of reading it, by the way, when you do get your copy, you can dip into the sections that are most relevant and necessary for you. However, of course, I would encourage you to work through it. It's not sequential as such, although, for example, having a clear definition of success is critical to choosing the right business model, and knowing your why, knowing your skills and strengths and so on is critical to then being clear on how you're going to build your credibility and boost your visibility and convey that credibility to the world, right? Again, having the clear definition of success will help you design your flexible work-life integration and so on. So they all feed into each other. And although, again, you can pick and choose and dip into it, I would encourage you to start certainly with the definition of success, which is always a good place to start. Again, whether you think you're clear on your vision or you're just getting started and you're not so clear, really starting from the beginning is the way you're going to get the foundations in place. So again, it's arranged according to those 5 pillars. In case you're not so familiar with them, I'll repeat them one more time. So the first one is your definition of success, really looking at the big picture vision, your values, your purpose, how to have that balance in your life. Confidence and resilience, so looking at your beliefs, looking at your mindset, looking at your self-care actually, and looking at the support system you have in place. Choosing the right business model, which is first of all getting clear on the criteria for your business model based on your vision. Choosing the clients you're going to work with, perhaps business to business, B2B, or B2C, business to consumer. Designing and building your products and services, and ultimately envisioning and creating your ecosystem. Then your personal brand, coming up with that big headline that's going to sit on your website and your bios and so on, really the umbrella under which everything is going to sit, what you ultimately want to stand for, be known for. Creating content, boosting that credibility, and above all, amplifying, maximising your visibility. And then finally, the fifth pillar is designing flexible work-life integration, which is all around getting clear on your priorities, really a day-to-day sense, both in terms of your business, but also more broadly, of course, in terms of life as a whole. So priorities, identifying the boundaries that you need and want to have and enforcing those boundaries. And then actually very tangibly when it comes to business, having systems and processes, I know really sexy to end on this, and starting to delegate and outsource work as well. So those are the 5 pillars. And again, each one, as you may have heard me talk there, if you're very observant, has 4 steps. So each of the 5 pillars has 4 chapters, as it were. And then at the end, there will, of course, be, if you know me well, you'll be familiar with my 1 step. So taking your 1 step, my brand and the publishing house is called One Step Outside. And so what 1 step can you take for each of those steps and for each of those pillars? Now, again, if you do want more support, there's the option to go to the Academy, which has then an interactive workbook. There are videos on each of those steps. So you can read more about that at onestepoutside.com/course. But I don't know about you, I'm quite tend to have quite an academic approach, and I do love a book. So if you certainly if you want to start with this, and then if you love it, which I'm sure you will, then you can always upgrade to get more support, either the course with the videos and so on, or actually work with me one-to-one so I can support you, really hand-holding, I suppose, really give you personalised and tailored support. But again, please join me to celebrate, Outside of the 9 to 5, the next book. And I, of course, have a plan already for the next book. So the 3rd book is very exciting because that's really when I'm getting very close to my heart and very passionate about my bigger mission. These are very practical books that I'm writing that have a very tangible role in the ecosystem again, and I really believe, I know, will be a huge support to you, to my clients. So I'm really excited to get this out into the world again. Obviously something I've been thinking about for a long time. In fact, the draft cover I designed with a designer last year, I can see it has my old logo, it has an old pre-photo shoot and so on. So that's how long even I've been kind of concretely working on it. But check it out. So I will be, there will be a specific, in fact, I've got it here. Let's double check. It's outsideofthe9to5.com is the URL, outsideofthe9to5.com, the domain, the website. You can, of course, find it on my website anyway, onestepoutside.com. And either you'll be redirected to buy it directly, hopefully, or you'll be able to join the waiting list. And again, if you do want to join me on the South Coast, it's not so sunny perhaps now at the end of the year, but certainly we'll have some warming drinks and hopefully cake or something like that to celebrate for my book launch. Then do let me know. I'd love to hear from you. But otherwise, I'll see you on social media. I hope you'll get yourself a copy of the book. I hope you'll gift them to other would-be or actual entrepreneurs, freelancers, service-based business owners in your life. And of course, if you're interested in writing your own book, I have lots of tips to share. I do have a free workshop that I did some years ago that I can share with you, and happy to give you any kind of personal guidance as well. But thank you again for your support. Of course, thank you to everybody who has contributed, in particular, of course, my clients who have helped me validate all these frameworks and strategies and implemented them and seen results with them. And thanks to everybody, if you're an active or passive member of the community, friends and family, for continuing to support me on my own personal and professional journey. So huge thank you to all of you. Here's to launching Outside of the 9 to 5, the latest book, a practical guide to designing and building a profitable business that gives you freedom, flexibility and fulfillment. And I'll see you next week. Bye for now. Outside of the 9 to 5 is the book that continues the story from leaving the corporate 9 to 5. It is a practical guide to designing and building a profitable business that gives you freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. Check it out and grab your copy at outsideofthe9to5.com. That's outsideofthe9to5.com.